Welcome to Saulcast. Tonight we are talking about Better Call Saul Season 6, Episode 10, titled Nippy. This is our instant take. We just saw the episode, so these are our raw, immediate reactions to it. We will do a full recap and analysis later in the week over on our podcast channel, link in the description. But with that, I'm Gil, here with my tech guy / brother, Alon.
Hey.
And my other brother, Adam.
Hello.
All right, let's get into it. So we've been waiting for about 7 years now. Ever since we first saw that black and white Cinnabon, we've been waiting for the full Gene episode. I don't know if it was ever confirmed it was coming, but we all knew at some point we're going to spend more time with this guy. So Adam, after spending almost a decade dreaming up what could that look like, what will it be? Now having seen it, what is your reaction? What did you think?
I thought it was perfect. I felt like I was watching season 1 of Better Call Saul again, which for me is a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for most people here it will be.
Yeah, and you're echoing a lot of exactly what I was thinking. First off, when you said perfect episode, to me this felt like a couple weeks in a row of basically flawless episodes. And I've also
kind of like Saulcast.
Yeah, exactly. I've been kind of lamenting the fact that we are done with the era of fun scams where sure there are victims, but there's usually not a body count. I felt like we're done with that, and now we get it again, but in the least expected place. Gene Takovic. Alon, what did you think of the episode?
I really enjoyed it. I think I like kind of like what Adam just said about how he felt like he was watching like season 1.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I feel very much the same way. I know there's 3 episodes left.
That's right.
But like now, after seeing this episode, I feel like this could be episode 1 of a brand new sequel. Like I could watch seasons of Gene now.
Yeah, I had the same feeling. To me, this felt like 10 years from now they announce we're doing a reboot of Better Call Saul. Not a reboot, we're doing a legacy sequel where we're going to revisit Gene. I know you guys never thought we were going to do this, but we're going to actually see Gene at the Cinnabon.
I would watch it.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I think part of the brilliance of the way they did this is what we are feeling watching this episode. We're like, man, this is just like season 1. That's a little fraction of what Gene was feeling, because he is rediscovering this part of himself that's been gone for so long. And I think by having us just immersed in the darkness of the last couple of episodes and then giving us this, that puts us right in Gene Takovic's shoes, because we feel this feels great. But it's a mixed feeling for me, because I'm happy to see him doing the scam again. We had this fun montage. This is the first time we've seen Gene smile. He's his old self.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it feels a little bit like watching a drug addict relapse, because we know that Saul Goodman was always his coping mechanism.
Well, the question is, it's like seeing him relapse, but you kind of get the feeling that it at least started out of a feeling of self-preservation. And so I'm sort of right there on board with him. Like, this makes sense. This is the right course of events, or the right series of choices. But then if you think back, that's kind of how all the problems he went through in the first place started. You kind of understand it at first, and you think there's some sense to it.
That's how you always justify it. When we were all watching Breaking Bad, you could always justify Walter's actions by saying, well, in this specific set of circumstances where he's so backed into a corner, he had to poison Brock. And you could say he shouldn't have done the thing. He shouldn't have decided to cook meth, but it's like sunk cost. That already happened. So just all else equal in this situation here, Gene had no choice. But I think what bums me out about it is not that he did the scam, because he was backed into a corner. It seems like he didn't have much of a choice, but seeing how happy it made him. And it just still feels like this is the only thing that can make him happy. But we did see, what did you think about Gene's breakdown when he needed to buy time after Jeff slipped? Just last week, we were talking about the fact that Jimmy always pulls out this trick. When he needs to, he can turn on the waterworks, but everything he's saying is what you would expect him to say if he was truly dealing with his emotions.
I think it's like he was saying it, but using it as a manipulation. I don't think he was actually feeling it in the moment, but he also knows that what he's saying is true.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, but after the scene, you do see him walk out and kind of grab his chest.
I think that was the stress of the situation. Like it went so he was walking a tightrope and he came this close to getting to Gary turning around and looking at the monitors multiple times.
Yeah, I wasn't buying that he was actually emotional at all about what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he was telling the truth, but the lie was how he felt about it. It was on the spot.
Well,
I think it's easier to lie with something that's true.
I even think he felt those ways about it. Just he wasn't feeling those emotions in the moment that he was doing it. He just probably generally doesn't feel so good about being alone and kind of unloved by anyone. But I don't think he was actually expressing that raw emotion in the moment.
I love when he was doing that whole charade. He straight up said, "Look at me."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did it twice. Yeah.
Well, that was, I mean, some of the brilliance of this episode is it was so funny, but it did have those mixed emotions because here he's, go ahead, Adam.
Well, just the whole tone was it felt like a completely different show. Like it was very funny, which is consistent across, the whole series, but they also had completely different like musical score. They were using a lot of like wood. I'm not a music person, but like I could tell like they're using a lot of like woodwind instruments and like the kinds of music they would put in like a Mickey Mouse cartoon or something.
But you wouldn't normally, when you think of
like in Slippin' Jimmy.
Yeah.
There you go. When you think of a more colorful, fun world, you don't think black and white. But ironically, this black and white episode felt a lot more almost fun than the last couple, just because those were so brutally dark. Yeah. But this had such a fun tone. I definitely noticed the score too. Like it felt like watching just a classic heist or caper,
especially
movie or
during that montage scene with all the squares.
Yeah, I love the montage scene. I love Jerry from Parks and Rec.
Yeah,
he was great.
Yeah, at first I was like, for a split second, I got the Ed Sheeran appearing in Game of Thrones kind of vibe, of like, oh no, like this cameo is distracting. But he ended up being the perfect actor for that role.
Watching him in this, and it was Parks and Rec, right?
Yeah.
Like I just feel like he's not even playing a character. Like I feel like the actor is just this nice, like super nice dude.
To me, so I saw somebody in the chat was, and I'll pull it up now actually because it's relevant. Liked the new episode, but New Jeff was bad. That's Tommy Gavin. Thank you for the $2. So I don't think New Jeff was bad. I do think that old Jeff, and the name of the actor escapes me. We'll get it on the full take. But he did such a good job with the little screen time he was given. Yeah. He just cemented himself in my brain as the character of Jeff. But I think casting, and again, I don't remember this actor's name, but Jerry from Parks and Rec, to me, that was such perfect casting. It kind of made up for it. I was like, okay, all right.
I will say the having a different actor for the cab driver, totally fine with it. But I agree that the person who did it the first time did it so well that the shift was a bit jarring, especially because the tone I got from the first guy was that he was kind of a scummy person willing to take a lot of risks. Whereas the guy he turned out to be was kind of a loser.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, like besides the actor, the character himself, to me, felt like a completely different character. Yeah. Like this one was a lot more like timid and afraid of
He just wore the same kind of outfits.
Yeah.
Well, it's unreliable narrator. We're seeing him through Jimmy's eyes. So once he kind of cowed him, he just kind of looked a little different.
Yeah.
By the way, the actor's name, Don Harvey, was the original Jeff.
So I'm not actually going to hold anything against the show for this because I know that the way they write the show often involves planting seeds that they don't know how they're going to grow in the future. And I'd much rather take some of the pros and cons. The benefits of that outweigh the downside. So if one small downside is that like the total of 3 minutes that we saw the cab driver, in prior seasons, that he feels a little bit different now, I don't mind.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. And by the way, Charles Payne, thank you so much for the $15. You are an amazing human being. So going back to Gene's breakdown, though, there's one more thought I had on that I wanted to mention, which is when we're in this Gene timeline, one of the questions in the back of my mind is always, what is there left that we need to see? And I don't mean logistically. Like, of course, we needed to see how he gets out of the situation. And then there are just natural questions of, will we hear from Kim again? Things like that. But as a character, to me, that moment was a big reminder to all of us that Jimmy still has not, in an honest way, dealt with all of his emotions. And I think that's what we need to see. And I've been waiting for that basically since season 4, episode 1, in the aftermath of Lantern. But so how much of this, a few people in the chat mentioned some pretty standout moments in terms of seeing Gene slip back into the Slip and Jimmy role. Of course, when he picks up Marco's ring and puts it on, which throughout the series, we've seen him kind of fiddle with that ring before he does something that an outsider might call self-destructive. So, for example, at the end of season 1, Kim calls Jimmy basically saying, I have talked Davis and Maine into probably hiring you. When he shows up, he's about to go inside, fiddles with Marco's ring, and decides, you know what, I'm not going to go for it. And there are a few other examples. And then we also see Jimmy look in the mirror, and he does this. The It's Showtime, folks maneuver.
I love that.
We saw that back in episode 1. Yeah.
Well, and even just seeing him like shop for suits and everything, like, or every time I saw him near a suit, I was like, he's buying a Saul Goodman costume.
I was waiting for him.
I can relate to because I've done that before
a couple times.
Yeah.
I was waiting for him to Schindler's List style. It's all black and white, but we see one red suit, and as he puts it on, his whole world transforms to color. I kept waiting for the moment where it turns to color. I was like, oh, he's gonna put on Marco's ring. Boom, it's in color now.
It's a magic ring.
It's like that movie Pleasantville. Like every time he runs a scam, it's a little more color.
Right, exactly.
Everyone.
But Adam, speaking of suit shopping, so that's what we see at the end of the episode. He's shopping for suits, or kind of browsing around. He picks one up. Kind of looked like, is he going to take that suit? Then he puts it down and walks away.
It looked like a Tuco costume.
That's what I was thinking.
Right. It seemed.
I know because I bought one recently.
It seemed like a more patterned suit than Saul Goodman normally wears.
Yeah.
Which might have just been because it was black and white. They had to find a way to show us that this is a crazy suit. It's not a solid color,
Fashion police over here.
Well, what does it mean, Adam, that he didn't take it, that he walked away?
It almost looked like he was setting something up. Like he needed that suit there as some kind of visual indicator of something, potentially to someone. But that's not really based on anything. That's just the feeling I got in the moment.
Do you think so? The way I read it,
I don't think it's something it doesn't look like something a person would wear.
To me, it felt like he was feeling good. He pulled this scam. I mean, and he already seemed in higher spirits. When you're going on your lunch break, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going on my lunch break."
Yeah.
Like he seemed so happy. So I think he genuinely was thinking about buying a suit, and then he thought better of it, which tells me that maybe he's matured in one way, where he did realize he has to pull one more scam and walk away. Like this was just to get Jeff off his back. But he's not relapsing. He's actually realized I have to stop. That was kind of the way I interpreted it, which tells me that what's left for Gene is not necessarily learning I have to put Saul Goodman behind me. It's, well, I need to put it behind me in another way. I need to realize that maybe there's another way for me to be happy besides scamming. And I wonder, Carol Burnett, everyone's been wondering who's Marion going to be. I did see somebody predict that she was going to be Jeff's mother, which feels like one of those. I don't know. That's such a.
It's a fake prediction. They knew they read a spoiler, but they want to be like, you want to hear my crazy idea?
But I got to think she's got more of a role to play. And there's that moment where she says, "You're a good influence on him," which was another. I laughed at it, but was also kind of like, what a bummer that it's so hollow when she says that.
Kind of made me think of like Trailer Park Boys, like Ricky being a good influence on Trevor and Corey or something.
Yeah, so I just wonder if maybe that's where we're going next. Is Jimmy? It's time to get busy living or get busy dying, because right now he's doing neither. It's in limbo. Yeah. So I guess one big question I have coming out of this episode is, why do we have to go back to the Breaking Bad timeline? Because to me, I was wondering that. Like, there's logistical questions, maybe, but not even that many, because we kind of know how Saul ends up here. And from a character standpoint, I don't really feel any burning questions about Saul Goodman. I feel like I get that character. He's an empty shell, and there's nothing there. That was his coping mechanism. So now that we're with Gene, I just don't necessarily know why we need to go back to Saul Goodman.
Maybe it's going to be in the last episode. It's going to be a montage just showing him reflecting on all the great memories.
I think we're gonna have a lot of angry fans if Walter and Jesse only show up for a second in a montage, and it's like, why didn't you just recycle footage? Why'd you have to put on the bald cap and bring him back?
I just pinned this from Carlisle Momberger because I think it's a good comparison. Like when I said this episode felt like season 1 Better Call Saul, for better or worse, what that means is it's a slower burn. Maybe takes a little bit of patience. It's not this intensity, like high octane thrill ride. And I loved the Fly episode of Breaking Bad too. I thought it was like brilliant. So I think this is kind of a good comparison.
There's a very similar comment. I can't find it, but someone said this is. Oh yeah, here. Tyler Norkel says this episode is weeding out the casuals. So same idea. I totally agree.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's like the difference between the main One Take channel and the One Take podcast channel.
Yeah.
That's what they were saying in the writers' room. Schnauz is like, we need the One Take podcast channel of Better Call Saul. That's what this episode is going to be.
Well, in our interview with Jeremiah Bitsui, he basically confirmed that they write the show by watching One Take and Saulcast and using that as sort of a springboard for their ideas.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate.
Pretty
You
sure
can
that's
see
what
for
he said.
yourself if you check out our interview with Jeremiah Bitsui, Victor from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Well, let me pull up a few super chats here. MG, thank you for the $2. Love your avatar. Kept expecting Kim to pop up at the department store.
At one point, we saw shoes like heels walking. We're like, Kim, but we knew it wasn't her.
Yeah, no, same here. I kept expecting. I thought they were going to end on a cliffhanger where you hear somebody walking off screen and Gene's like, Kim, what are you doing here? But yeah, but no, it didn't happen.
Turns out she's the manager of that store that he's robbing.
Yeah, what a coincidence.
That's the kind of thing that would happen in a regular TV show.
Yeah,
that's right.
One day in the future, Gene pulls off some scam, and it happens to be a store that Kim owns, and then they realize it, and then fall back in love.
Yeah, because Adam, this show's never used coincidence before. Casemiro,
The
Lalo with the
airplanes.
camera,
Yeah,
airplanes.
I mean, this is a whole separate conversation and probably a whole video essay for you, but like the use of coincidence in Breaking Bad and the Better Call Saul universe and why it works here while it fails in so many other programs.
Yeah, and that is an interesting topic to go down. But pulling up, Bobby, thank you for the $2. Is this the last we see of Gene? The happy ending. And Adam, you won't know what this is in reference to because you've been avoiding all the teasers. But there was a teaser where you just hear Jimmy saying, he just says, after all this, a happy ending. And we were all wondering, what is that in reference to? And it turns out it's in reference to a fake dog named Nippy. And
I
do
see.
you
They
think-
used that clip.
Are we going to see him scrambling to find a dog who
So
looks
I was
like that
wondering
dog?
about that because I was like, he could just say he never found the dog, but instead he said it was found.
Yeah,
So I think see him trying to get a hold of
he could
it.
have gone with that lie. The problem is that he just looked kind of happy. And if
Yeah,
he
it
had just
didn't
lost
fit.
his dog, he realized I got to roll with this. But I guess I'll say I don't think we've seen the last of Gene. Definitely not. I think logistically things are in a place where sure there's no pressing matter that would say we have to see Gene again from a plot standpoint, but from a character standpoint, they have not made the final statement on that character.
Yeah, he's definitely a little out of practice. The fact that he didn't have a plan for what to say about Nippy, like he didn't even consider that far in advance.
No,
Like-
if this was season 6, episodes 4 through 6 era Better Call Saul, this whole episode would have been him and Kim shopping for dogs. Like,
Yeah.
why do they need a dog that looks like that? Okay, Adam, I'm going through super chats now, but any other just burning thoughts you had on the episode that we didn't get to?
I really loved it because it felt like we got more than one more episode of Better Call Saul. It felt like 3 episodes in one just because of how different it was and how novel everything felt.
Mhm.
We've never seen Gene this social or this happy appearing because he's not really Gene. Like the timing of these flash forwards or the way these different cuts of time are separated seems to be based on significant changes in the person's character, right?
Yeah.
And so in this case, they could have shown us any period of time where Gene was just managing the Cinnabon, and it would have been super boring. But they jumped right to, you can assume this is what his life was like, and this is the time that everything changed for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly right.
It feels like, on the one hand, people could look at it and say, well, not that much happened, but a ton happened if you take it in the context of, for God knows how many years, he was just kind of sitting there getting old and bald and making Cinnabons and not living his life.
I saw somebody in the chat mention they really need to get a Cinnabon. Are they open late?
Dying for one.
Yeah, I don't know how I've made it. I think in the entire run of this series, like literally in the last 7 years, I don't think I've eaten one single cinnamon roll or Cinnabon. I don't know what they actually call the product. That's how unfamiliar I am with Cinnabon.
Me, basically every night.
Yeah.
Every night while I'm at work, this guy's been bringing them over to me.
Yeah,
for some reason,
for about 3 minutes.
Yeah, he keeps timing me for some reason. What was your biggest laugh out loud moment in the episode, by the way?
There was one point where Jerry was like eating the Cinnabon and had this like very sensual reaction to it.
It's like, why, hello, darling.
Yeah. So I thought that was just hilarious and so relatable.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's actually related to this guy's comment. Jake Break Model 94 was like, was I the only one nervous when Jeff fell? That was tense. So it was tense and I was nervous, but it also was hilarious. So that might have been the funniest part. I'm like, what? It looked like he slipped on a banana peel. And then I'm like, he must have hit his head pretty hard, man.
Well, the great thing is you see him slip, he falls. You don't really see the aftermath of it right away.
You see everything go flying.
Well, and like 7 seconds later, Gene looks up, and then you see that he's still lying on the ground to the security camera. When you see him lying there, that was the moment that got me.
I thought like he might be dead right now.
Yeah. Right. And so like, how much time is Gene willing to try to buy before he just gives up and is like, there's something on your camera there.
Yeah. Well, and the brilliance of it, this is like, I get so excited with the brilliance of Better Call Saul. That moment was hilarious, but then it also ends up being the window into Jimmy once again drudging up emotions that he hasn't dealt with and just using them as part of the con. So it's this great.
Well, this show just perfectly. This show is a masterclass in how to use humor.
Yes.
Well, Capital H is a genius here. He said, and he slipped on the polished floor.
Right. That makes sense.
So,
true. But then again, he practiced like on like snow and slush. Like if it was icy enough, you would think that would be good preparation.
He should have been sliding around every corner, getting ready for this.
Should have been on ice skates.
Well, I laughed extra hard when I saw them rehearsing because I don't know if anybody else here is watching Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal right now.
I kept thinking of that.
Yeah, but this, if you're, I don't even want to spoil that show, but if you watch it, then I got to think you also thought of it in that moment.
Sorry, another thing. Matt says, honestly, I was kind of bored with this episode. Probably an unpopular opinion. I will say there were moments where I was a very little bored.
Alon was like,
I was not.
It's black and white. I can't watch this.
Nah, it was good though.
Alon was
what would you say were the?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I just remember at one point I said to go. We took like a quick break, and I was like a little bored at one point.
Yeah,
somewhere in the middle.
Okay, to be fair, the last episode ended with we're now approaching the Breaking Bad timeline. So in your brain, you were probably all set for meth, and what you got was cinnamon roll. You got Jerry.
I would say
it was only very little at one point, and then I was good again. So I just want this guy not to feel left out or whatever.
The way I looked at the cinnamon rolls in the montage is how like most people would look at meth in like a Breaking Bad montage.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I thought it was very stimulating.
Speaking of stimulating, Robert for $4.99, thank you so much. He said when Gene makes his drink, he squeezes a bulb of lemon juice into the glass and swigs it down, just like drinking the Davis and Maine bottle of pee.
Oh yeah.
So I mean that was clearly an intentional callback, I think.
To urine.
Yeah.
Like milk lemonade.
Yeah, exactly.
They can't get away from the toilet humor.
No. Thank you, MJ, for the 321. March 21st. Is that what that's a reference to? I don't know.
I think it's just 3-2-1.
Oh, 3-2-1.
Like the number.
Take. Happy ending handled. Wish Marion found Nippy. I believe that's in reference to what we discussed earlier, but the happy ending was the fake dog being found. Now I'm hoping there's a real dog at some point. Thank you, T, for the $4.99. Hey guys, love the streams. I fanboyed a little when Gene mentioned the fifth grade chemistry teacher. Why? Just kidding. I know that was Walter White.
I got so excited when he brought that up.
Yeah,
and I've been one of those people who's been saying, I don't need a cameo of Walt and Jesse. You know, maybe it's best to let sleeping dogs lie. But then as soon as he brought them up, I was like, ah!
That was crazy when right after he said that, Walt popped up and was like, did someone mention chemistry?
Yeah. My ears are burning.
Wow, Mod Mary, you are too kind. Thank you for the $19.99.
That was very generous.
Yeah, very generous. Would love to see Gene put on a Saul Goodman suit and everything turns to Technicolor. Then he says, Nippy, I don't think we're in Nebraska anymore. Love this episode, black and white and all. Mm-hmm. Yeah, take that, Alon.
What?
I'm just kidding. Oh. Because you made a joke, you were bored because it was black and white.
I didn't even mention the black and white.
I pretended that's what he didn't like about it.
I wasn't listening to
that. Was one of those great live stream moments when you're remote and we're all talking over each other. So we all three of us tried to say clever things at the same time.
It's like people that can't watch something with subtitles. You realize how many movies and TV shows you're just amazing ones you're just excluding from your palette for no reason.
Exactly.
Well,
anyway, go watch
the funny because now I watch everything with subtitles, even things in English.
You change it to Japanese, even if it's an English show.
Yeah. Well, on Twitter today, trending, it said why millennials are obsessed with subtitles.
Because it's hard. They make the shows weird. They make the sound weird, and I can't hear what they're saying.
You know what it is? It's because TikToks always have subtitles or something.
Bitter Buffalo. I think it's because we all listen to music too loud. All of our ear hearing is going. Bitter Buffalo, thank you for the $1. You're awesome. And Amy, thank you for the $5.
There's probably an actual sticker that we're not able to display.
Yeah, through StreamYard it doesn't show up, but I bet it's an awesome sticker. Alon's looking for it right now. Your boy, thank you for the $2. Much love, guys. This episode was an emotional roller coaster.
Your boy, by the end of this series, I think you're going to graduate to be your man.
And by the way, the sticker's big green. How's it going? I love it. Though the funny thing is, I almost wouldn't even describe it as an emotional roller coaster because it wasn't like I went from one emotion to the other. It was almost like they were colliding at the same time, which is so often how I would describe Better Call Saul, where I'm laughing while my stomach is turning. Because I'm laughing at Jeff lying on the ground, my stomach is turning because Gene's like, my brother died. I broke my boy. Yeah, boy.
I love just in general, like all of Saul's pranks or whatever. Mm-hmm. He does them in such elaborate ways. No one would suspect him. Like who would believe that for like weeks he's been priming these security guards to he trained them like dogs.
Yeah. Well, he trained them security guards like dogs, and he trained Jeff and his friend like dogs.
Yeah. When I love that I'm running around like a dog.
Yeah. We get to see the most fun kind of planning and manipulating and plotting is when you're manipulating people, the social engineering, and like training the guy to eat the Cinnabon every day. When we watch the montage and you start to see the other security guard warm up to him,
he
welcomes him into the room.
And stuff.
we were like waiting for like when the actual like robbery was taking place for the security guard to be like, sorry, I'm cutting down. My wife's making me go on a diet.
Right.
Like, can't eat it today.
Or he walks in and he's got a cast on. So he's like, I can't eat the Cinnabon today. My arm's broken.
I think at that point, he'd probably insist on feeding him.
Which would actually help. It would take longer.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael, for the $5. So far, there's a line Saul said in Breaking Bad I haven't been able to reconcile with BCS. Money laundering ain't what it used to be. God, do I miss the 80s. Adam, explain.
Well, what he means by the 80s is the mid to late 2000s when he was helping Walt and Jesse. No, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know. He must have done some light money laundering in his early days. It's just not something we have any access to in the series, given the timeline.
There you go.
Yeah. But also, I mean, I don't know much about how money laundering used to work, but it was probably easier before everything was electronic.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure he was pulling scams in the 80s, and there's a whole fun part of Slippin' Jimmy's life that we just did not get to see. Lex Medellin, thank you for the $5. Did y'all jump when Marion's pot roast was done and the bell rang? As in, Gene, this is my boyfriend Hector. I will say at no point in this episode did I fear for anyone's life except when Jeff fell on the ground.
Yeah, I thought he might be dead.
When I started to do the math, I was like, is it a problem if he's dead or does it actually work in
No,
Gene's
it's a
favor?
good thing. Yeah.
Well, his friend, Jeff's friend, might have something to say, and that might not work out well.
Was it just his friend or like brother?
I don't know.
I thought at one point his mom said something like "my boys."
Yeah, I felt that way. Well, yeah, I ended up thinking she actually only said boy, but I also thought it might have been plural.
Okay,
they're good boys.
Question: there's a lot of repeating themes this season. All right, one of them was body doubles. Now we see the emergence of a new theme: people that have to stay in cramped places. We had Nacho in the truck. You remember that? And then here we've got Jeff in the crate. Who did you feel worse for?
I felt worse for Nacho when he was in that like disgusting
oil tanker
puddle.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Yeah, me too. Surprisingly,
I actually think I would kind of, if the crate had a cushion, just even a really light cushion, I would kind of enjoy it because I like this thing small and close.
I would probably just fall asleep and miss the text.
Yeah, that's definitely what happened to me.
I almost don't even want to read this next super chat. Adam, it has no spoilers. Nothing will be spoiled, but it will bring up that topic. I just don't want to get you riled up. But
I'll try not to comment.
Ed's hands. That's Edward Scissors' hands. Hands. $4.99. Thank you so much. In an interview today for Vanity Fair, Bob confirmed Marion is related to another character on the show, but it will be very difficult to guess who. Thoughts? Well, I think I'm going to go out on a limb. I believe she's related to Jeff.
Huel, maybe?
Yeah, no, I think that's who he was referring to as hands.
And maybe Huel.
Could also be related to Huel.
Yeah.
I did have that thought today. I was like, we've probably seen the last of Huel.
Yeah, I think that conversation he had in the car with Jimmy, why are you doing all this? I think that was our goodbye to him.
Yeah, they've been giving, we've mentioned this so many times, but so many of the supporting characters are getting a scene that feels like they're given a little more than we're used to. And you're like, that's probably their goodbye scene. Bill got that cameo where I feel like his goodbye scene was there's proving and then there's knowing. Yeah. And then he did at least show up in the montage last episode, but I got to think that's the last we see of him. Unless you check out Saulcast Trivia Night. Okay.
That's canon. That is canon.
That's right. Kevin, thank you for the $4.99. Marion mentions Jeff was caught up with a bad crew in Albuquerque. Possible Breaking Bad timeline crossover? I mean, maybe, but that feels so uninteresting to me. Like, no part of me is wondering, what was he up to in Albuquerque? Like, it just feels like unnecessary information.
I mean, I just assume it was some petty stuff.
Something about that line felt a little unnecessary to me, a little cliche.
Yeah, it's but at the same time, then why was it in there? Maybe it is set up for something we're going to see.
Maybe, or it's just to explain, to add credibility to the notion that this guy wants to get in the game.
Right, and it also could. It led into that great line of "you're a good influence on him," which I gotta think leads to some introspection for Gene. What the hell am I doing with my life? And I had another thought on that, but it escapes me.
I do have a question for because there's a number of people in the chat kind of who didn't feel as great about this episode, and I would like maybe a couple of concrete reasons why. Not like flooding the chat or anything, but unless people are just saying not much happened, and that's why.
We'll see what comes through. My guess is that people are just so cognizant of the fact that we've got 4 episodes left, now 3, and it just didn't feel like enough for them.
Yeah, maybe it feels like a misallocation of the time left.
Yeah, but the way I look at it is that they took as much time as they wanted to tell the story. That's the fact that they have 13 episodes this season, I think, is evidence of that. And I enjoyed this episode. I'm not thinking about the opportunity cost of what are we not seeing because we're seeing this.
I mean, there's three. I was gonna say only, but honestly, there's 3 whole episodes left. Like
feels
we've
like plenty.
Seen his entire like how he became Saul. We saw him as Saul, and now this is just bonus at this point. Really,
that's how I feel
like,
about it.
There's 3 whole like hours left.
Right.
Like honestly, I think it's a lot to show us whatever else they want to.
Because if you told me we're getting a Better Call Saul prequel, I'd say, okay, that show's going to tell us how somebody became Saul Goodman. The show has now done that. All that's left is what happens after, and that can take as long as they want it to take, right? That could be wrapped up in 1 episode, and I feel like I would be okay with it. But I don't know. I eagerly await whatever happens in the next 3. The biggest question for me, like I mentioned earlier, is I am so unclear on why we have to go back to the Breaking Bad timeline. Other than, I mean, I want to, like, that sounds awesome. I just don't know from a character standpoint why. Maybe we need to see Mike again. Maybe there's more to say about Mike or Gus. I don't know. The last episode, those felt like such a goodbye for them also, though. So yeah, we'll see. Em, are you monitoring the chat? Have you gotten any concrete?
I mean, I saw people say like nothing happened, boring,
Gotcha.
Nothing was answered. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a kind of a subjective thing. For me, I'm a huge sucker for those early episodes of this show, and this felt like that to me. I totally get the feeling of we're running out of time, but to your point, Gil, running out of time to do what? We actually, this is sort of epilogue at this point.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's some shows like, I don't want to give any spoilers, so I won't say, but like there are some shows where it's like nearing the end, and you're like, how can they possibly fit like the rest of the story in this?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in this, I'm like, I feel like they can definitely do it because we don't even know where they're going. So for all we know, whatever they're planning on doing can easily be done in 3 episodes.
That's why I always find, I was joking about this earlier, but I speculate all the time. I try to predict what's going to happen next, but that always feels a little funny to me because it's not like we're trying to predict a real world event. Like we are trying to guess what some people made up somewhere. So it's not like this episode finished like crap, we got to go write 3 episodes. Like this was all planned, so I feel like we're in good hands. Hans, thank you for the $5. All of the payoffs, slip and fall, almost doing him in, nippy meanings, dog, wire cutters, and cold weather.
I mean, Nippy is such a classic name for Saul to choose, or for Jimmy to choose as his dog's fake name.
I like that. But earlier, you and I were trying to guess what Nippy represented.
Mm-hmm.
You were thinking cold.
So I was thinking Gene because I remembered in the first episode. So we learned the title of the episode early. Yeah. So I mean, everyone knew it for weeks, and we finally. I heard it a couple weeks ago. I told you this morning. I asked for permission first, of course. Anyway, all that to say, we're trying to guess what it means. And in my head, I figured the first episode of Better Call Saul opens with Gene. We see snow. Nippy can mean cold. I figured we're seeing Gene this episode.
Yeah, and my guess was it had something to do with like nipping, like biting. So that's all I thought, but then it turned out to be a dog. I feel like I was partially correct.
We were both right.
Yeah. I have to say, there was one point during the Cinnabon making montage where there were just 2 big round Cinnabuns only that were being gently slathered in frosting.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not think it was a coincidence that the episode was called Nippy in that moment.
Oh,
I'm serious. I think that's keeping in line with the humor on this show. But,
did you also
sophisticated mind to pick up on?
I also caught Schnauz Farms cheese, which I've got to think is a reference to Tom Schnauz. One of the,
I saw the cheese. I didn't pick up on the name.
Yeah, one of the executive producers, one of the writers. By the way, non nobis solum. Thank you for the $5. He says, cheers, great exploration. Cheers to you, my friend. All right. Last stream, I asked you about 10 times. I was like, so any final thoughts on the episode?
Oh.
I told you 5 minutes ago, no. Jay Wilkes, thank you for the $5. Thought Marion was going to ask to meet Nippy. I thought the exact same thing. Also, bet she wishes she had that extra lunch meat now that Gene is over all the time.
I like how like Gene is now in a situation where he has to keep hanging out with like 2 different people that like just to keep up appearances.
It's-
he has
it's
to keep
like
seeing
when he
Marion,
was-
and he has to keep hanging out with the security guard. It would be weird if he just suddenly stopped.
It's like when he was trying to smooth things over with the friend group of old people at Sandpiper.
Right. But I loved his interaction with the security guard. I loved his interaction with Marion. I gotta say, Carol Burnett. I mean, we knew she was going to kill it, and I think she did kill it in this role. She immediately wins you over in that opening scene with her arguing about the I don't even remember, like the amount of cheese or something. Amy, dudes, it was just a shirt and tie, not a suit.
That's true.
Then you see that same shirt on the episode where they were removing his clothes from the mansion.
So I cannot assert whether this is true or false, but I will take their word for it. In which case, good connection, and it would make sense because they said that scene of the mansion, many different things from it will find, corresponding sequences in the rest of the season.
But does that change my subtextual reading of it? Where that still would probably...
Yeah, well, I mean, it means he's going to buy it.
Well, no, the mansion was before Gene. So that would mean...
yeah, you're right. You're right.
So either way, it's reminding him of the Saul Goodman good times.
Yeah.
So thank you,
That's
Amy.
a good point. If that's the case, it feels a little too on the nose to me that they would get these same identical ones.
Well, let's look at it. We'll see. We'll fact check this. Don't worry, Amy. We appreciate you putting us onto the case, and we're gonna crack it. Don't you worry. Big Ralph is back. Thank you for the $5. Is the Jeff storyline over? No aftermath from the scam? Love the return of the pinky ring. Me too. FYI, Nebraska football dialogue is on point. So much of this episode made me laugh, and watching people fake their way through a sports conversation is one of those jokes I've seen before, hasn't gotten old for me yet, and Jimmy McGill is the man to do it. That was great.
Well, and it's very relatable, at least as a guy. I can't stand those situations, but it's like because the other person they don't care what you actually have to say or what you think. They just want to talk about sports. And so you got to be like, really? Wow. No kidding, huh?
He threw the entire ball.
That was a ludicrous display last night.
IT crowd, right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I was just walking in. Here's my prediction on this question. I think that the Jeff storyline is over. I think that kind of the point of this wasn't to open up a brand new story for the last 4 episodes. I think it was just to give you an insight into the current Gene and his thought process, what he's currently looking for in life, and and I think this was kind of like a closure thing for him, finally with the scams. So I think the next 3 episodes are probably going to be just him now thinking about what's his next move. I can't just sit the Cinnabon for the rest of my life. So I think that Jeff thing is over, and now it's...
See, when you say that, I'm like, 3 episodes feels like a lot.
I'm
like, how are they going to...
Nothing.
Yeah, how are they going to fill 3 episodes? But we know... I mean, I don't know why we know this, but we know we're going to go back because we have to see Walt and Jesse. I will say, to me, it felt like... I guess I want to see more Marion. And it feels like she's not done with Gene. They're going to see each other every day. I don't know that there's going to be a lot of plot involving Marion and Jeff, but I could see some good character conversation. Like, I keep thinking about that moment where she calls him a good influence and how impactful that must have been for him. So maybe there's more coming, but maybe not. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I just can't see them in the last 4 episodes introducing a whole nother storyline.
That would be introducing a bunch of white supremacists with only 6 episodes left in the series.
That is what I thought of.
That is true.
I'm still rooting for he comes clean, does some time, and then becomes a national celebrity and writes a book and does interviews and stuff.
Starts a podcast, which actually gets released in the real world. And Better Call Saul continues as a podcast.
It's like the actresses from The Office.
That's right. Yeah. Darren Lau, thank you for the $5. Love the episode, but wished this was the season premiere. Full Gene episode instead of opening scene would have shocked everyone. Love your channel. Darren, we love you. Thank you. And I think the problem with that is this really hits a lot harder once you understand how Jimmy got here. Once you know he lost Kim. At least that's my initial reaction. And I assume on further reflection, I'll continue to feel that way because I got to think the writers really thought hard about where to place this. But I feel like this hits harder after you know Jimmy lost everything. and once you understand what Saul Goodman was. It also, I think it goes back to the point I brought up right at the start of this, which is by putting this episode where they did, we feel a little bit of what Gene feels. He is rediscovering the Slippin' Jimmy Saul Goodman piece of himself, and it feels like being happy for the first time in a long time. In the same way, we've now had 3 episodes of just darkness, tragedy, fallout. By putting this episode after all that, the joys of it are all the more palpable. And it so much more feels like seeing an old friend. Like Adam said, it feels like watching season 1 again. We wouldn't have felt that if we saw this before Howard and Lalo and Kim and all of that.
All right. Here's a question.
Yes, I'm ready.
And it's inspired by Kay Foster. I think we might be finished with Gene. I think when he tried the shirt and tie, then hung it back up and walked off. Anyway, calling it here first. What would it mean for this show if this was the last Gene episode? Now, we know we have to somehow get to the Breaking Bad timeline, but what questions are there that we need answered from this window?
Well,
I don't know. I struggle to find any.
I think this theory implies to me that Gene has accepted his place at the Cinnabon for the rest of his life, and he is now content enough with it. And I can't believe that that's enough for him. I think
Same.
I think he's going to go somewhere else after, and I need to see where it is.
Right. I think so. Kay, I think that would be a choice, and that choice would basically tell us, like you said, Gene's done. That wouldn't ring true to me. I feel like he would do something at some point that would be worth seeing on screen. Right? If he just cut to black now, I wouldn't read it as ambiguous. I would read it as, yeah, he's just accepted this depressing, sad lot in life. It doesn't leave any plot questions open other than that, but it does leave open some thematic and character questions. It leaves open the question of, is this what he deserves, right? Is this the proper punishment for all the things he did? Or in fact, I might say the punishment should be even worse if he never does anything to try and right some of the wrongs he did. So I think there are thematic questions that aren't resolved yet, and it just wouldn't ring true to me to end it here, like you both said. It is a good question though, and definitely one that I think we'll think more about before the full take. Jay Wilkes, thank you for the $2. Think they'll revisit the Black Book acquisition? I don't think so.
I think that we saw the last of the vet.
Yeah, I think it's just implied that the vet handed it over to him for some reason.
Well,
he probably paid. I'm sure he paid for it. Yeah,
yeah.
I know. But
the ultimate reason.
That scene was just so awkward to me. But
oh, this Black Book? Oh yeah, it's a Black Book. It's got all my contacts in it. Here, take a look at it.
It felt a little unnecessary. I mean, have it like a nice final interaction with the vet, but the Black Book. No one was sitting around wondering. I don't know. We're not gonna. This series can't end without an explanation of the Black Book.
Well, so maybe Dr. Caldera, he wanted to sell the book, and he thought he saw a couple suckers walk in. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I got this book right here." He waved it in front of them, and he bought a hook, line, and sinker at them, just like you did just now.
Even so, why is it in the show?
But I think, yeah, having said that, I think the Black Book, just like the Statue of Liberty, they showed it to us. We can connect the dots. Yeah. Having said that, yeah, go ahead.
I love the vet, so I was still glad to see him.
Yeah, me too. I've been on record saying this for a while that if we got a spinoff, that's the guy I want to follow. I mean, that's second to Lyle, of course, which was the one flaw of this episode. That's probably why we're going back to the Breaking Bad timeline. We got to see what Lyle's up to. Serpentine, thank you for the $2. Yeah, we don't watch the Next Time On teaser. Thank you for the $2. Adam, I'm sorry.
You shouldn't have even put that up. I don't know.
I just wasn't even thinking. I just clicked it.
No, please don't do super chats with anything like that because we'll feel guilty not showing it, but we can't show it.
Yeah, well, Serpentine, thank you. Don't feel bad about that. I mean, we're probably the only place you can go for Better Call Saul coverage where we don't talk about the Next Time On, and we're that careful about spoilers. That was a rare.
I don't even look at the names of episodes until after, which in this case didn't seem to matter much.
Well, they have Alon and I guessed it right on we knew it was about a dog in the cold.
Yeah,
about Gene.
That's true.
Yeah. They have such clever. Next week's episode is called Jesse and Walter. I don't know if you saw that. Jay, thank you for the $5. That's like his third super chat tonight. Thank you. From my observation, people who hated this episode are mad because they haven't seen Walt and Jesse yet. They keep saying, okay.
No, he's making fun of them. No, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, I've been saying this for a while. You cannot trust IMDb for your casting news. A bunch of people thought that my cards, Daniel Wormold, which there was a shopper in the store this episode who sounded like him a little bit to me. And the camera panned over. I was like,
well, they were saying something like they like something, or
yeah, it's for my sister's wedding or something like that. Yeah, people have been going on IMDb all seasons, and Walt and Jesse are showing up next episode. But I got burned by IMDb because when we were watching the episode where Lalo finds Casper, Amazon has this great feature called X-Ray where it'll show you all the actors and actresses who are in a scene that you're watching. And it showed the actor for Kai because IMDb is all user generated. It's like Wikipedia. So people are just going in there, adding Bryan Cranston to every episode. So you can't trust that stuff.
For me, I really want whatever this Walt and Jesse thing is, I want it to actually have have impact of some sort. I don't want it to just be just a cameo. I don't know what they could possibly do, but I want something.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been saying that.
That's just like fan service otherwise.
100%. We've been saying that for literally at least 7 years now, maybe even 8, since the moment we knew the show might happen, that if they show up, it's got to be important for somebody besides themselves. I don't need to know. I don't think there's anything left to be said about Walter and Jesse, at least not in that period of time in their lives.
Well,
so it's got to matter for somebody else.
El Camino kind of had this problem where it was well done and it was good, but it felt superfluous. It was like, this is sort of the headcanon I already wrote for myself, and I'm just kind of watching it happen.
Vince Gilligan's even said that. He's like, it's not a necessary story, but it's one that I wanted to tell. I wanted to visit Jesse again. And I mean, to that extent, it does feel good. It makes you feel good to see him again. But I think in the context of this series, that wouldn't work. Mm-hmm. That would have to. It works for El Camino because it's a bonus thing you can go watch. But in the context of this series, you don't want to get taken out of it with an unnecessary cameo. I will say I have all the confidence in the world that it's not going to be that it will matter to this story somehow. I can't wait to find out how.
I don't even want to predict it. I want to be surprised.
100%. Amy, thank you for the $1. We're going to put that into our fund to investigate that shirt tie situation you brought up earlier. We're on it.
We need
Zach,
a private investigator.
Thank you for the 99 cents New Zealand cents. Thank you.
Dollars.
I'm a big fan of the Flight of the Conchords.
So big a fan that you just thought of their name instantly.
Yeah. Flute of the Commodores.
Yeah.
Thank you, A2 D Souza, for the $5 Canadian. What are the chances the store manager discovers a theft before they erase the security tape, which blows Jeff's cover, which blows Saul's cover?
0.
The show doesn't get hung up on stuff like that, I think.
Yeah, I feel like this was I feel like they pulled off the scam.
Yeah.
And I don't know, do we want to watch an episode of Gene trying to figure out a way to get the tape back and get out of this?
Feels like too small time at this point.
But at the same time, that could be saying something. If the thing which takes him down is just the dumbest thing in the world.
It's like in Trailer Park Boys. Every time they rob a place, they just steal the security
They just take the tape.
Yeah. Anna, $5. Thank you so much. Jimmy didn't enjoy the scam. He couldn't breathe after it. He then appreciated working at Cinnabon. Putting down the colored shirt was the end of Saul. I agree with some of that. I agree with the last part of that sentence. But there were definitely, unquestionably, parts of the scam he enjoyed. Right? That was him putting the ring back on. I mean, he was all smiles through most of it. I still think him not breathing afterward, I mean, that was a high intensity situation, right? That was a specific part of the scam where it looked like it wasn't going to work out. I would say the rest of the time, though, he was having a great time. And it's also unclear to me, he did pull out some intense emotions at that point, talking about Chuck, talking about, I don't have a wife. So I do think some of that might have been those feelings kind of knocking and saying, you got to let us out. Adam's like, no, I don't think so.
I was going to say, why would one ever want to let a feeling out?
Yeah. What are these feelings you speak of?
Yeah. It's much better to just compress them into like a black hole.
Kay Foster, thank you for the $2. I'm going to put that towards helping Adam get out of this black hole he's in. There's some very specific amounts, and I feel like I'm in Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul mode, where I'm trying to figure out the pattern.
This is like a money laundering scheme, like what Saul Goodman helped them set up for the donations.
Yeah, if you are using us as a money laundering scheme for
none of these viewers are real.
Just don't tell us. That's okay.
Well, no, if you are, everyone give us $5 right now to prove it.
Yeah. Charles Payne, thank you for the 9/19. It's got to mean something. I don't know what it means. September 19th. That's the day that Saul met Walt and Jesse. I don't know. Kay Foster, 5. Oh, we talked about this. Actually, speaking of the timeline, Adam, we talked about this in the bonus segment of the Jeremiah Bitsui interview. But a lot of people might be confused about when exactly the flash forward took place last episode.
Yeah.
And it's worth talking about because there were 2 points in that flash forward where they show us a date. We see November 2005 on the license plate. Now, that is an expiration date, which would say that if Saul is a law-abiding citizen and he is going to renew those plates when they're due, it's currently 2005. Mm-hmm. Later, we see the handicap thing that he puts on his rearview mirror. It says 2008. Now, I looked it up in New Mexico. Those need to be renewed every 4 years. So it would still work to be 2005. Then a new wrinkle appears. Tom Schnauz, executive producer, one of the top writers in the show, he was asked about it on Twitter, and he says, probably around 2007. And then I think he followed up later. Basically, the main takeaway is you are not going to get a straight answer on exactly when it takes place. All you need to know is that it is after Jimmy has settled into the Saul Goodman role, but before he met Walter and Jesse.
Right. And
really
you
all you have to know.
That he probably is driving with expired plates.
Yeah.
Which is like definitely possible.
Or it is 2005 and Schnauz misspoke. Or there's a miscommunication behind the scenes. But yeah, either way.
I mean, wouldn't he be like super careful not to break any laws right now or do anything to catch the police?
Well, in Gene timeline, Saul Goodman, he might be so confident that he could get out of it, you know? We're talking about the flash forward last episode when he saw Goodman.
Right. My bad.
It's getting late here, guys. It's okay. Matt Mamba, thank you for the $5. People are letting their expectations they set in their head before the episode get in the way of what they actually watched. I love the season 1 BCS vibes. Couldn't agree more. Adam?
I like the way you intonate for people.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty accurate.
I think it adds a fun element.
I agree with that. We all go in with our expectations, and for me, first of all, I didn't expect a Gene episode, but so to get one was a pleasant surprise, and then what I got was what I expected, because I expect the Gene sequences to be a lot more slow paced and measured.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So and I will say I don't want to assume that I can get in the head of people who didn't enjoy it, because there have been times where we didn't enjoy something and people are like, how could you not enjoy that? So, not everything's for everybody. But there is a point here that Airy Ozone says one of the last 3 eps could be all about Kim. Now, I don't think there's going to be an entire Kim episode, but that is a good point. That is also, in my mind, a question of what happens to Kim after all this. I mean, does she just get to walk away scot-free? And what's she up to?
She's probably in Nebraska, right? Or no, Kansas City. Where'd she grow up? Kansas?
Nebraska. Yeah, I mean, very well could be in Omaha.
Yeah. I don't know. What are the chances they're in the same city? I think Saul would probably decide that that's too risky.
They wouldn't even, so I've always thought they might be in infrequent communication with each other, because there is that phone call where, he tells Francesca, you're going to get a call on this date. Make sure you're there, pick up. And the date that he gives is his birthday. So you assume that whoever's calling is someone who has a close personal connection with him, or he just chose a convenient date. So yeah, Bill Oakley, that's right. So maybe Kim calls once a year, and maybe somehow somehow they've found where each other are, if I said that correctly. Yeah.
I think she's might be in Nebraska or somewhere in the Midwest. They're probably not in the same city at the same time.
Yeah, agreed. Yes, where do you go when you've lost yourself? You go home, right?
Yeah.
Adam Beaterwolf, thank you for the $4.99. Thanks for all that you do. I'm curious. You're welcome. I'm curious to see if the writers include a flashback to the Saul timeline to squeeze in the Walt Jesse appearance. I mean, we know they're going to, but I guess the question is it a flashback where it's one segment of an episode, or is it a full episode where we're back in that timeline?
Maybe they're not together. Maybe it's we see Walt in a flashback and we see Jesse in the new timeline.
Could be, though. It feels like such a missed opportunity to have the two actors back and not put them in a room together.
True, but I don't know if they have the de-aging technology.
Well, I think that ship has sailed. I think they've given up on
that.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing we didn't comment on was the newest intro.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
I'm wondering what they're gonna do.
I just want to say I called it. I think.
Congratulations.
Yeah. We both called it. We said that we would get to the end of like the VHS tapes, and then that intro would no longer happen because we'd then be in the Gene timeline.
That's true, because every season has 10 episodes. So you get 10. I don't know if it's 10 different. I got to double check that. But there's a few different images you see. Business card in the urinal. The Statue of Liberty. You see those images. Tarantula. You see those images repeated every season. But you get to the 10th episode of the season, they've run out of images. And it looks like they've run out of tape, which is a very cool effect. Like, can you think of any other show that used the starting in some kind of artistic way
Simpsons.
to show that? Well, yeah, sure, but that doesn't show an evolution of a character.
No.
That's just like a different gag every episode.
When that happened, when the tape went blue, Daniel and I looked at each other and we're just like, ah! Like it was a huge moment, like legitimately.
I just felt nostalgic watching it.
VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Very cool starting. Yeah. Like I said, I guess I don't have much more to say about it other than that, though. I think it just signifies like we are at this. We're there. We're done with Jimmy McGill.
We've climbed the mountaintop.
That's right. Ed's hands. Thank you for the $4.99. Just checked, and season 6, episode 11 is longer than this week, so a slightly longer episode. Think next week will be the one to see Walt Jesse.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
I feel like, okay, if I'm trying to get in their heads, I don't think they'll put it in the final episode. That feels
like it would take away.
You're taking attention away from the heart of the show, which is Saul Goodman.
Yeah, I think the final episode will include the focus will be a Kim and Saul reunion of some sort, not Walt and Jesse.
I agree with that. Yeah, if I had to make my prediction, I think Walt and Jesse show up next episode. Kim shows up the episode after that for a second, which leads into the real reunion and then the finale.
I want to see
Jesse shows up in the last one by himself. No Walt.
I want to see Hank and Gomi again.
Unlikely.
Last time we saw, I know it's just like all these other characters they're bringing back for some kind of more ceremonious final scene. And this is probably whenever their last episode was, a season or two ago. We didn't know it at the time, but that's the last time we'd ever see them.
But it was awesome. We got to see them again.
Yeah. It was. Cool. I wonder if what if we get like a flashback where you see Hank and Walt and Skyler all hanging out, just having the time of their life. And, Jesse, get in here. Come on.
It's like a what could have been thing.
I wasn't even thinking that, but that could work too. But they're like just having a good time. And they're like, things will be like this forever.
I'd rather see a flashback of the awkward dinner that Jesse had. Like, at Walt and Skyler's home where he's eating the salad. Like,
I love that meme.
Yeah. That was such a great moment. Yeah. Jay Wilkes, thank you for the $2. Just erase the tapes with a big magnet, obviously. So that's if Saul gets caught on tape or if Jeff gets caught on tape, there you go.
That was one of the more outrageous plot lines in Breaking Bad.
Yeah. I mean, I remember not to even go, well, I even go down this rabbit hole now, but I remember not necessarily having a problem with that plot itself. And Adam, they proved on Mythbusters it can work.
I believe it.
It was more the on the nose, like it started to feel like Jesse was shouting out catchphrases. Like he was starting to turn into a caricature, like magnets, bitch.
I mean, that's something almost basically every TV series suffers from, is characters becoming more like caricatures of their former selves.
Right, exactly.
And Better Call Saul seems to have avoided it. Breaking Bad had little traces here and there.
Little traces.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Gus, like, how many times do we have to see, when he gets nervous, he cleans things a lot.
Yeah.
DJ Doughy Fresh, thank you for the $5. You guys are the best. Keep up the great work. From 1/4 of the One Up podcast. This is our friend. Check out the One Up podcast, where you can see the other 3/4 of the One Up podcast.
Thank you, man.
If you like the vibe of just people hanging out and
chilling,
talking, you're gonna like this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So grab your mushroom, get your One Up, your Mario One Up.
Yeah. As long as
Bobby.
it's not purple or blue or
do not take the purple mushroom. It's poison. Bobby Burek, thank you for the $4.99. What if Kim's final season is Saul contacting her before he disappears into Gene at the end of the Breaking Bad timeline? Adam?
It would be interesting, because that means she'd potentially even have some kind of advice or a way of helping him in that situation. That said, I think we would have seen some kind of breadcrumb leading us there. The fact that he told Francesca to expect a call at some date in the future makes me think he wasn't also going to have a call with her in the short term.
Well, so I've always thought that the reason he knew she was going to call then is because she always calls then.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a breadcrumb. Maybe that is the breadcrumb, and we're going to get another breadcrumb where there is some kind of interaction between Jimmy and Kim. I mean, I guess I could see it, and that could be a reason to go back to that timeline. And Craig Otto, thank you for the $5. The moment during the security guard montage when it suddenly escalates big and he gets buzzed in right away and the mean guard is fun is so good. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. I remember the exact moment because he opens the door and he kind of like waves Gene in and they start playing football. Just like, I did not think we were going to get such a hilarious montage in the final 4 episodes. It was awesome. Space King, thank you for the $2. The EP ends in November 10th. UTNU game was October 16th, 2010.
Wow, 2010. So that really wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. So that would be how long of a time period was covered in Breaking Bad? I always forget, and then I'm always surprised.
It's only like 2 years.
Yeah, it always is.
It starts on his 50th birthday and ends right around his 52nd.
Well, think about it. These shows don't fast forward through time that often. Like, you can remember the specific moments. In Better Call Saul, the Something Stupid montage, I think 6 or 8 months go by, maybe 4 months, somewhere in that time frame. But we're with these characters for every moment, so it's rare to skip a large period of time.
Actually, I heard Breaking Bad was kind of like 24, where it was actually in real time. So he became Heisenberg in about 50 hours.
Yeah. Well, it'll be believable on 24. I think there was one season where his wife got amnesia and his daughter fought a tiger. J-Dub Center, thank you for the $10. Amazing. Going to try and talk my boyfriend into going with me to our nearest Cinnabon ahead of the final episode. The catch is 2 hours away. Wish me luck.
Love that idea.
That is an episode of Better Call Saul called 2 Hours. Jimmy and Mike. I really enjoy the podcast, by the way. Thank you, J-Dub Center. I hope you get that Cinnabon. I'm definitely going to have one, maybe the day of the finale, but between now and the finale, I think we all have to go out for Cinnabon.
Yeah. Knowing us, we're going to like get a few to split amongst ourselves so that none of us feels guilty for eating a whole one. And then at the end, we'll be like, damn, we should have gotten like 12.
Also knowing us, this will be like 7 minutes before the finale starts. We're running back. You got to plug in the wire. Yeah.
I mean, what sounds more like Gus is getting like 6 because we want to try different flavors or something. And then we realize that was a mistake.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Serpentine, $2. Thank you very much. Maybe we get a Breaking Bad / Better Call Saul VHS opening next.
Well, wouldn't it be like DVD at this point?
Yeah, I actually said that on the Pete Pepper stream. I said I think we're going to switch to DVD, and I think it's going to be a mashup starting between Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Yeah, if we're getting to Breaking Bad, we're probably already talking like Blu-ray versus HD DVD.
That's true. My prediction: no starting.
Agreed.
But we'll
Or at
see.
least no, we're not going to get a VHS style one.
Yeah. Or maybe they'll do like a fake sitcom, like it's about Gene working at the Cinnabon.
Yeah.
And it's got back in the day when shows had opening themes that just explained the entire plot of the show, like the Flintstones. That's the one thing the show lacks right now. All right, so these are names of the next few episodes, but they're jokes. They're not real.
Yeah.
Thank you for the $2, Gabriel. The names of the next few episodes: Gold, Breaking Bad, and Belize.
Those would be very creative choices.
It is. So the great thing, though, is I have been saying there was an episode of Breaking Bad called Better Call Saul. I mean, there's got to be an episode of Better Call Saul called Breaking Bad, right? And
I think that'd be very reasonable. Right? I don't think they're going to do it, though.
A little on the nose, a little on the schnoz. Tom Schnauz.
If there's an episode called that, I predict that is the one that Walt and Jesse are in. That's my prediction. You heard it here first.
Bold. Here's an observation. This episode was called Nippy. Is this the first episode this season that doesn't follow the blank and blank format? Okay,
correct.
Which makes sense because it's a Gene episode. It's not part of that other timeline,
right?
And that pattern of naming.
So if the next episode is Breaking and Bad, then we'll know.
Yeah.
Negan the Cliffhanger, thank you for the $9.99. This may be a reach, but Jimmy's weekly delivery of Cinnabons, which are promptly enjoyed and devoured, is the same relationship the creators of BCS have with the audience. We are all hungry mall cops. I will say, both of the mall cops, they seemed pretty happy with their lives.
Yeah.
Well,
he couldn't even relate to
the
no.
He's like, I'm sure some people feel that, not me.
Yeah. I said it already. I'll say it again. Perfect casting.
Yeah.
And Negan, I think your analogy is accurate. I don't necessarily know if that was the intention, but I think you're not wrong.
I doubt they were thinking about it at the time, but I think it's a reasonable connection because I feel like a complete fiend.
I was wondering actually what the frequency of the Cinnabon delivery actually was, because if it was once a week, that's a lot of planning.
Oh, I assume it was every day, right?
Yeah, that's what I felt. I felt it was a daily thing.
Oh yeah, because he says weekly here. Yeah, I gotta think that was daily.
Mm-hmm.
They'd forget who he was. But who are you? The guy with the Cinnabons.
I would kill for some Cinnabons right now.
I know, seriously. I really want to stop talking about Cinnabons. Tyler Gill. By the way, great last name. I love that name. $9.99. Everyone's talking about. Thank you for the $9.99, by the way. Everyone's talking about when are we going to see Walt and Jesse? Yet I'm still waiting for Kubi to show up. Is that how you say it?
Kubi.
We need another Kubi and Huel scene when we return to the Breaking Bad timeline.
I will say, Kubi, like Huel gives him Kubi snacks, like when he does a good job.
I'm sure that if we see a joke spinoff about those two characters, that will be in it. There was a spinoff there was a funny
Huel's Rules.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, look it up. Huel's Rules. It's like if Huel had a sitcom.
Yeah.
It's like made by AMC. Like actually produced this.
I mean, Huel was with Saul in the Breaking Bad timeline. I would say if we're going there anyway, a Huel appearance is not out of the question.
It's certainly welcome. I don't think we're going to see him again. I don't think we're going to see Kubi either because we never saw him during Better Call Saul, and people always wanted him to. It could be just what's the comedian's name again?
Bill Burr, right?
Bill Burr. Yeah, I think maybe just kind of he's got too much going on.
He's too busy filming another episode of Mandalorian or something, probably.
That was just absolutely horrible.
We got to bust out of jail again. Yeah. No, I love Mandalorian. Kay Foster, thank you for the $5. Thank you for the $5. The one character we haven't seen get a callback, Ernesto.
That's true. I think he kind of died with, in ancient Egypt when they would like bury you with your cats and your wife and your possessions. I think they threw Ernesto in the grave with Chuck.
No, Ernesto jumped on the grave.
He was wailing.
Laura Palmer's father when he jumps on it.
Yeah, I remember.
And then he started yelling at Jimmy, "You broke my boy." Yeah, it seems unlikely we'll see Ernesto at some point now. Space King, thank you for the $2. Breaking Bad finale was Walt's birthday, September 7th, 2010. Oh, cool.
Yep, and he turned 52. And when he put the strips of bacon on his eggs to spell out 52,
Turkey bacon.
No, it was
real
turkey bacon when he turned 50.
Okay.
And it was when he realized how pathetic and sad his life was. And then once he was a badass with a beard and like a machine gun in his trunk, and he stopped at the diner, he wrote 52 in bacon, and this time it was real bacon.
Awesome.
And no coincidence in my mind, the 5 and the 2 together looked like a mushroom cloud, which I always thought was cool.
Yeah. And I think the transition to real bacon signifies something. And he's throwing out all the rules. He doesn't care about his arteries anymore.
He's no longer keeping kosher.
That's how you know his cancer. That's how you know his cancer was back.
Yeah,
because he was willing to commit slow suicide.
All right. Alon, any other thoughts on the episode we didn't get to?
No, we mentioned everything.
What are we going to talk about in the full take?
Just re-release this.
Yeah, there you go. No, we
I just love watching Saul kind of screw with Jeff, like the way he's coaching him through committing this crime, as if this is what it means to like be in the game. Like Saul never did anything like this, and it looks so silly the way he's like running around like the Hamburglar around the store.
And the little rhyme he has to remember everything.
Yeah.
Which is so real. Like 1, 2, 3. You know, one rhymes with something. That is a memory technique that works great. So it rang very true and was hilarious. Zach, thank you for the $8.99 New Zealand dollars. If we only return to Breaking Bad timeline, since BCS feels wrapped up, how does the Kettleman inflatable office renovation get explained? Maybe BCS timeline?
I think we're meant to fill in those blanks ourselves. Like, the most they showed us was that the inflatable is owned initially by the Kettlemans, and I think we're supposed to assume he either bought it from them or whatever.
He was influenced by them in a couple ways. The inflatable Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, either he actually got theirs or it inspired him to get his own.
Exactly. And he was also influenced by, they had, I forget what song, like the national anthem or something, playing in the background in the waiting room. He also implemented that in his office. So yeah, I feel like we just fill in the blanks there. I don't know that we're going to see it. It's like the Black Book. You know, I think they showed it to us. Yeah. He has it
He
now.
was inspired to go out and buy his own Black Book.
Yeah, that's right. All right, I asked Alon, Adam. I'll ask you now. Anything else you want to say about the episode before we wrap up?
Just it's a big deal. We've been waiting so long for a full Gene episode. We just basically tripled the amount of Gene content that exists in the world now. And I think that we're gonna see. I think we're gonna be surprised, like, because I'm at a point where I truly don't know what's coming next. Not because there's so many not because we're on a cliffhanger, but because everything feels kind of resolved.
Right.
And yet I know it can't be, especially because Kim is this major loose end. Something that I think none of us expected going into Better Call Saul as a series was that, to an extent, it's a love story. And it still doesn't feel like it, but if you look at this character and his motivations and what matters most to him, it's Kim. I think he's probably still in love with her all these years later, and I think that is one of the biggest cliffhangers we've had in this series, and I think we should focus on the fact that we're going to get an answer pretty soon, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, my optimistic prediction is that somehow they will find a way to actually be together for real with like new personas, because I think like Breaking Bad, ended. Walt lost everybody that he loved. I mean, they were done with him. Like his own son told him he wished he would die.
Right. So
I feel like here we gotta go opposite, and Saul gets what he actually wants, and they find a way to make it work. Well, after all that,
a happy ending.
I think it's going to be a little more tragic than that, but
probably.
I don't think it's going to be like death,
I think very well put by both of you. And I'll just reiterate something I've been saying. which is one place I feel that a lot of shows go wrong is that they save everything we just saw, all the tying together the plots, tying up the loose ends, that gets saved for the finale. And then you don't get time to sit with the characters after the fallout, see how they deal with it, and see where we leave them. And now, like you said, Adam, it feels like it's all wrapped up, except for the character dynamics. Yeah. Will Jimmy and Kim interact again? How does he live with himself after this? Is he just going to be a sad Cinnabon? Which, by the way, you could be a happy Cinnabon manager, but I don't think Gene can be.
He's not,
Yeah, I mean, what you just said reminded me of like one thing real quick with like video games. One thing I don't like is when you beat a video game, you save the world, and then that's it. Roll credits. If you want to keep playing, you have to go back to like before you beat the final boss. I want to keep going. I want to be able to talk to people and see how things have changed.
He just wants to walk around and have everyone praise him for doing a good job.
That basically like Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Right.
I want to be able to like see how things are different now that I've defeated Ganon.
This is where Alon looks for the love he didn't get as a child. Yeah. Clicks on the villager. Wow, thank you for saving me. We love you.
Yep.
We love you.
Oh, there's a bunch of side missions I haven't completed yet either. So, anyway.
You earn different compliments as you go.
Okay, on that note, first off, Jay, thank you for the $2. Nice touch letting Adam and Ego have own window. Yeah.
I'm the one who let them have their own window over here.
Classic Adam.
Okay, with that, thank you everybody for joining the Instant Take. We've only got a few of these left, and these are so fun. When you finish an episode, go ahead, Adam.
Tell them about the interview that we did.
Okay, so just a few days ago, Adam and I sat down with Jeremiah Bitsui, who you all know as Victor from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. You know his piercing stare. He's the guy who told Walter where he has to be in 1 hour with the drugs. And we get a very intense scene where Skylar's giving birth. One of the most suspenseful scenes I've seen on TV. So we spoke to him for close to an hour.
Tell him about show and tell.
Oh, he showed us. So you may all have heard about some of the swag they give out on set, Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. But for important episodes, they'll give out T-shirts and stuff. I don't know that you can see them anywhere else, but he did a little show and tell at the end of the interview, showed them all to us.
Right.
Also,
like a mug. Like these are all like cool deep cuts to the show and references. Like these are things that like the actors are keeping with them forever as souvenirs, and we all got to see them.
Yeah, for the episode where Nacho died, they all got a special shirt, which is pretty awesome. If you want to know what it is, check out the interview. Also, another fun tidbit. If anyone here watches Barry, there's a character, NoHo Hank. He had an influence on Better Call Saul. Mm-hmm. And if you want to know what that was, you're going to have to check out the interview. Yeah, it was the last video we posted before this one, so you can find it easily. I'll put a link in the description, too. Zach, thank you for the $3.49 New Zealand dollars. Thanks, team. You guys rock it week in, week out. Zach, you rock it. Thank you so much. So where was I going with that? Yes. So
Gil, any final thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Owen, for asking that. So yeah, we're gonna do the full take later in the week where we will go beat by beat through the episode, full recap and analysis. If you can't wait that long, you're still jonesing to talk about Better Call Saul. Even when we wrap this up, join the Discord where we have 24/7 Better Call Saul talk and other talk. And anything else?
I can neither confirm nor deny that Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul are regular users of the Discord.
Yes, I cannot also confirm or deny that. Yeah. So with that, thank you all for watching. I'm Gil.
I'm Alon.
I'm Adam.
And this is Saulcast. Instant Take.